How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome to a bonus video. This should be coming out sometime Saturday. It's going to be really short, but they just made a really amazing announcement that might pertain to you if you're an anime fan. If you're not, maybe listen, but honestly, I don't know if this will be for you. Regardless, though, this is really exciting because I got a notification of this announcement through a YouTube video that I got tagged in. The YouTube video was a trailer announcing that Crunchyroll and Funimation are going to be partnering. Now, this is very exciting for a lot of anime fans, but it could cause you to wonder, like, what's going on. So I did a little research, did some reading. I'm going to give you some of the basics if you're interested. Now, Crunchyroll and Funimation up to this point have had a bit of a competition as far as streaming goes. Crunchyroll, I think, really jumped onto it very strongly, and they've been producing a lot of a Netflix-like style of anime, and you can actually watch recent anime within an hour of it being aired in Japan with good subtitles. And I can speak for the fact that I subscribe to them because I love their style. They do a great job, and it's only gotten better over time. Funimation also does streaming, and they do streaming of subs, but they also do the dubs, or the English dubbing of the animes. But their selection's never been as big, and so they've had this really interesting relationship, and it's been kind of frustrating for me as an anime fan because I don't want to subscribe to both. I don't need both of them. However, I missed out on watching things like One Punch Man, Hero Academia. What was the other one that was recent? The Assassination Classroom. Those were like the three recent ones that I was really excited for that I couldn't watch because they were on Funimation, not on Crunchyroll. And let's be honest, I feel like Funimation was never really competing in the market anyway. Besides grabbing a few key shows, ultimately they never had a whole big library that was really appealing. They had a back catalog that was nice, some of the older shows that I kind of watched in high school that I never got to have access to. And so that's really what they had going for them, but I don't feel like they were as competitive as Crunchyroll was, and definitely not as aggressive as Crunchyroll. I mean, I see Crunchyroll everywhere, good grief. But the real exciting thing here is that they've decided to combine powers to create something greater, and this is what's really going to come down to. In their press release today, they announced that they are going to be partnering and what this partnership entails. Crunchyroll is going to be mostly unchanged, and except for key factors. Crunchyroll, like I said before, does subs. So they do subtitles going on during the anime. You hear it in Japanese, and they can come out with these like really quickly. They ride on time, they come out really early, and it's probably, at least in my opinion, it's the most favorable. I like the voice acting of the Japanese actors. I can hear emotion really well through them, despite not knowing the language itself. And I also get to understand, because I can follow along with text really well, and I enjoy that. So this is really good for me, because Crunchyroll will now have access to a lot of the shows the Funimation used to have only rights to. As a matter of fact, as an olive branch, Funimation has offered today Cowboy Bebop, which is one of my favorites. So now I can watch Cowboy Bebop on Crunchyroll, and I'm so excited. I tell you, that's what my weekend's gonna be. It's gonna be Cowboy Bebop and junk food. It's gonna be amazing. I'm like super bright, like in the sun right here. Is that too close? Obviously this sounds great because a lot of the things that Funimation's kind of hoarded to itself, the few little titles that I wish it had, are probably going to migrate over to Crunchyroll, which means anyone who's subscribed to Crunchyroll, like subs, is going to get the entire library that's available to the American market effectively. It's going to be fantastic. Now, on the other side, Funimation does get perks too, and if you're a bigger fan of Funimation, and especially if you prefer dubs, if you like the English dubbings, which, by the way, a lot of people crap on the dubs, but listen, they've been getting a lot better. I actually got to meet some of the voice actors at a recent con that are starting to kind of work their way up the chain and getting into anime dubbing, and they talk about how the quality's gone up a lot. Back in the late 90s, it was not that great, but that's because there wasn't a big market for it yet. But now there's a lot of people aspiring to become good voice actors for anime, and it's becoming an actual career that's highly sought after, like many other forms of acting and voice acting. And so we're starting to see a high level of quality go in, and I've enjoyed some of the more recent dubbings. I still prefer subs, but that's my personal thing. I don't have no problem with people who prefer dubbing. Funimation is now going to have access to the plethora of shows that Crunchyroll now has. So Funimation is suddenly going to start exploding with content, and they're going to start getting new content, which is one of the struggles they've had of getting newer content that's dubbed. It's hard to get that dubbing done, but they're going to put more of their energy into the dubbing itself, and they estimate that a lot of the newer shows will have dubbing episodes coming out 2 to 4 weeks after the original release. That means that you could be listening to dubs of a season of anime before the anime of that season has actually finished coming out in Japan. That's huge. That's a big step, and I imagine it's going to mean a lot more traffic for Funimation, and it's going to mean a lot more work for potential voice actors. Which, I mean, come on. Especially being on YouTube, it's kind of a pet dream of mine to eventually make a guest star in an anime. That would be the best thing ever. Never gonna happen. I don't know if you're familiar, my voice acting skills are subpar at best, but I can dream, can I? Anyway, this is what's making this so exciting, is that we're seeing this union, and it means that we're gonna be getting more anime across the board. If you're a fan of Crunchyroll and of subbing, or if you're a fan of dubbing and Funimation, it's just more anime goes around, because they're going to start sharing the rights to these things. They're going to start buying rights together rather than separately. Now, where does this leave the anime industry? Well, first off, it leaves Funimation in a much stronger position, in my opinion, because their streaming services just never were up to par. I don't know very many people who actually were subscribed to them. I know a lot of people subscribe to Crunchyroll, not to Funimation. However, Funimation doesn't just do that. Crunchyroll is very much a niche thing. It focuses primarily on manga and dramas and anime. They do some side sales of some other like anime style products, but that's really not their focus. Their focus is the anime itself and these other products. Funimation is the big roller for anything coming out on Blu-ray and on DVD and figurines and all kinds of stuff in the United States. They're probably the premier anime sales company when it comes to just general goods. So they're going to be benefiting from this too, because they can sell a lot of the merchandise. A lot of people who watch shows on Crunchyroll who want to get, who like the subbing, will probably also very easily get linked to Funimation if they want to buy some of the DVDs or if they want to buy figurines and such. I feel like that's where we're going to start seeing that merging. So Funimation is going to be kind of dropping the ball as far as like trying to grab a bunch of different anime, and instead focusing on providing dubbing and providing anime goods and services throughout the United States, which I think is their forte. That's really what they're good at. That's what they've been good for and known for. They should stick to their guns, and I think it's a good business sense for them to back off of trying to do what Crunchyroll is doing and instead work as a partner to become something greater in the whole. Now, there are other anime dubbing groups, obviously. There's about a dozen of them. What's this going to do for them? Well, the business sense side of me says that this could be a good and a bad thing. Because obviously they aren't a part of this deal, and I don't think they would want to be. They're not trying to do streaming services or anything. They mostly focus on doing dubbings. However, if this does lead to a greater influx of money and a greater influx of attention for Funimation, it could make it more difficult for other parties to compete with them in dubbing. Now, I imagine the fact that there is competition out there will guarantee that these companies aren't going to die away per se, because, I mean, business is business, and oftentimes these smaller companies can offer to do deals for a smaller cost, and so the anime industry, of course, is going to be just playing the market the best they can. So I don't foresee this being too big of a problem for them, but it does leave a precedent for them to potentially trying to strike an agreement also with Crunchyroll and or Funimation, because it's almost like watching the two best players in your Monopoly game deciding that they're going to work together and pool their resources. It kind of makes all the other players a little scared, because it's like, well, how are we supposed to fight that? So we're not really sure exactly what it'll affect there. I hope it doesn't shut these offices down, because they seem like lovely people, the few I've been able to meet, and I feel like that anytime we start seeing something that feels like a monopoly, it can become a danger. But once again, this really doesn't feel like that. This feels more like Funimation accepting the fact that it's not as good at doing the streaming, especially with newer seasons, because they just don't get them as fast, and they don't get a very broad selection. And Crunchyroll admitting that they really aren't on par with providing any other services besides just the streaming and the access. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure people are going to be all triggered in the comments section saying like, oh, how dare you criticize Crunchyroll, or how dare you insult Funimation. I don't really care. I'm mostly just excited. I get to watch Cowboy Bebop, and I imagine that there's a lot of other shows that I've been kind of like wishing and hoping that I can watch again someday without having to buy them. I mean, I already subscribed to a streaming service. I can always wish for these seasons that I wish I could see again, and it looks like I'm going to have that opportunity, and so can you. So, make sure you check out and follow this story as much as you can. Thank you for joining me. I hope this was informative. I hope you have an understanding of where the market in the United States for anime is going. And, oh, one last thing before I go. I want to talk about piracy. Many of you out there may be pirates. I mean, I understand, it's expensive. Sometimes you can't afford a monthly payment for a subscription. Sometimes you want to watch anime that are on Crunchyroll. Oh, that might change now. But more to the point, remember that these companies, especially in the United States, are having to fight piracy really hard. I think the last I heard was a reported estimate of about 90% of anime that's viewed in the United States is viewed illegally. That's a big market. That's a lot of money that the anime industry is losing because people can steal things online. Now, regardless of your personal opinion on that, I personally have decided that I don't want to do that, so I don't participate in any of that. But that's me. I don't know what your situation is. I know it can probably be pretty hard, but I strongly encourage you to take a look at this, because now that they're having this unification of resources, this is an opportunity for you that if you can only subscribe to one of these two services and pretty much get everything you'd need for the animes that you like. So, I don't know. Just take that to heart. If you or someone you know does pirate anime routinely, you know, it is illegal. You can get caught and you can have some pretty dire consequences, including jail time and fines. I would strongly encourage you to always follow the law if it's within your means. And honestly, I can't even say that without also adding the fact that you should follow the law anyway. But I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I just want to share some great news, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next video or whatever happened to watch, I'll see you there.